longer time for something, or if you're newer to stretching, or if you're tighter, 15 seconds being minimum and 30 seconds to even up towards a minute if you're more comfortable with it. So let's go ahead and start with some more active movements and start up on your feet here. Just getting some mobility going. Go ahead and go hip circles. About 4 or 5 active movements here. Going around clockwise for about 3 more. Can I get a thumbs up if you guys can hear me? Cool, thank you. Feel free to put music on, what have you. I didn't mute anybody. I think you guys already had yourselves muted. Go ahead and go the other direction here. A couple more this direction. Next one here, just reaching up towards the ceiling and reaching back on an angle, like so. So this is going to be lumbar extension. Does not have to be aggressive, just slow movement. You can adjust by looking up towards the ceiling, just kind of reaching back behind you there. Feel a stretch in the shoulders and the chest, and then cross the hips and reach down. More active, so just a couple seconds at a time. Reach back up and back down. Again, these are just more active just to get us primed and moving. Last one here. And reach back down, good. Now more of a toe touch, just in slow motion. So start with arms out to the side. Big inhale. And exhale, slowly reach towards the toes. Just as far as you can get to, you could add a slight bend in the knees if needed, and then come on back up. Big inhale. And exhale, reach towards the toes. Some of these movements might seem very yoga-esque if you're familiar with yoga or if you're a yogi. That's because yoga is very stretching based. If you're doing stretching yoga, go ahead and reach back up again. Inhale. And exhale, reach towards the toes. Now we're going to make our way to a child's pose on the floor. I'm just going to adjust the camera. So if you're familiar, go ahead and go towards the mat or towards the floor. Sitting back, you could have your heels up or the tops of your feet on the floor. Sitting back towards our heels and just reaching out in front. We're going to hold this position at some point throughout the session. But for right now, just sit back towards your heels and then come on back up to all fours. So we're just kind of rocking this time. Just hold that child's pose, maybe 1, 2, 3. And come on back up, return to that all fours. Sit back to the heels again. Let your shoulders feel heavy. Let your head drape down. And back up to all fours. Go ahead and sit back again. And come on up. Now in a push-up plank position, we're going to go up, hips go up towards the ceiling, or a down dog position. So drawing our core up towards the ceiling, hips are up. Feel the stretch in the low back. And then from here, go ahead and walk it out. Just walking it, feel the stretch in each calf, side to side as you're going. Just marching in place in that down dog position. We're gonna hang out here for a moment. Pull your shoulders back so they're not up above your ears or anything like that. Just looking straight through the mat. Just marching it out, walking here. Feel little instances of calf stretching. If you want, you could return just to the down dog and just feel both sides at the same time. Push your hips back and up. Feel that hamstring stretch. And excellent. Okay, now we'll go ahead and move on to the passive section. So this is going to be where we're holding for, we're going to hold most of these positions for 30 seconds on my count. Feel free to let up. Give more. This should not be painful in any way, although stretching, it could reach the point to where it almost feels uncomfortable. Totally normal, shouldn't feel painful though. So let's start with that child's pose. Now we're gonna hold it. So I'll face you guys, sit back to your heels, reaching out in front. I'll give you guys a moment to get set and then we'll kind of start a count here. So just straight up the middle. If you're familiar with yoga, you can focus on your breathing here, doing slow inhale, exhales. Let your body feel heavy going through the floor. Reaching the fingers out. Feel a stretch in the upper back, translating all the way down to your hips. Place your forehead on the floor or on the mat. Just feel heavy here. Let your breathing settle in. Go ahead and walk your hands to the left. So now we should be pointed on an angle to the left, and you'll feel a stretch more along your right side, your shoulder, your delts, your lats, all the way down to your hip. Continue to breathe through the stretch. On each exhale, you can kind of inch your fingers out a little further, feel a little bit more, kind of creeping into the stretch a little bit more. Go ahead and switch sides. Walk your hands over to the other side. Now you'll feel the stretch along your left side. Just let the left side of your upper body kind of feel heavy. Drop your elbow towards the floor. Slow inhale, exhale. Go ahead and make your way up to a kneeling position like so. I'm just gonna go on an angle facing you guys. Deep breath, and then from here, we're actually gonna walk forward onto our elbows. So it's gonna look like this right here. So our hips are on the floor, we're up on our elbows. What I'm gonna do here is look up towards the ceiling and press through the floor. Feel a stretch along your abdomen into your hips. If this does not feel like much yet, in a moment we're gonna move up to our hands. This is just kind of the starter here. Gradually looking up. Go ahead and bring your chest back down to the floor. And now we're actually gonna press up. Found that it's more comfortable to have your fingers pointing outwards. We're gonna press up. So we're up on our hands if you're able here. Breathing through this one on each exhale. Let your hips drop a little bit more. So now chest is up. Try to keep arms engaged so that your ears aren't by your shoulders, almost like there's a little bit more shoulder stability going on here, like so. You can even look up towards the ceiling. You know, we spend so much time in our day in a flex position. Good to balance it out with more extension based. What I like to do from here is actually turn. So see how I'm going to turn my shoulders. I'm keeping my legs and my hips in one spot. I'm just turning to the side, facing with my shoulders. You're going to feel, if you turn your right, you're going to feel it more on your left hip flexor. Hold this position here, 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and center up and then make your way to the left. So you're going to swivel to the left, keep your hips squared to the floor, to the mat. You're going to feel a stretch more along your right side, right oblique, right hip flexor. Go ahead and sit back to that child's pose position. This is just a transition right here, just to get out of that extended position. So back to child's pose. And then go ahead and, I'm gonna face you guys, might be a little easier to see here. I'm gonna go wide stance with my knees. Go ahead and look in here. We won't start the time just yet. Like a groin stretch, and then walk into it. So this is gonna be more inner thigh, hip flexor. You could adjust it by walking your knees out even further. I'm not the most flexible, so this is about all I have here. If you can get your hips to the floor, great. And if you need to scale this one back, you can go to your elbows. So go ahead and walk your hips forward. I'll turn on an angle here. So right now my knees are wide, so my hip is externally rotated. Yep. This is like my modified splits version. So you should feel this groin, inner thigh, hip flexor. I'm on my elbows because I'm not the most flexible. You could go up to your hands too. We're going to hang out here for another 20 seconds or so. This is more inner thigh, internal rotators, adductors. You can go up to your hands a little bit more aggressive. And then trying not to guard either. Allow your hips to feel heavy. Take gravity into the stretch. Great, go ahead and reset, kind of shake it out if you need to there. Next, I'm gonna go on just a slight angle here. On a knee, let's go on our right knee. So left foot is up, left knee is flexed. This is a classic hip flexor stretch. As you're looking at it, it looks like I'm just taking a knee, but what you're gonna wanna do is engage your right glute. So right knee's down, right glute is engaged, and then slightly push hips forward. So where we're feeling this is gonna be right hip flexor. If you don't feel it very much, that's good news because you don't have tight hip flexors like myself. So then you just want to lean into it even more. You can go hands on your left knee, lean into it more. But the main point for this is to make sure our hips come with us. If we are just leaning forward, there's not going to be enough tension on the hip flexor. So you want your chest up, pushing hips forward, and engaging the right glute. So right glute is firing right now. Should have a conscious engagement connection from your brain to your right glute. Just by activating the glute on the opposite side of the hip flexor, it's going to have to relax a little bit and allow it to stretch out and lengthen. You could ease off the gas if you need to on this one. You can lean into it even more. Got about 10 more seconds. Go ahead and come on up, reset. Just a moment here. We're going to do this 2 more times. 2 more times, and we'll get the other side. I'll show you how we can take this a little further on this next one. Go ahead and lean in again. Engage the right glute. In terms of our hip pelvis positioning, shouldn't be tilted forward. So if it was like this, it'd be tilted forward. If anything, you want to set so your hips are square. Just by doing that little adjustment, you can feel it that much more here. So think about drawing your belly button back. Flat, core tight here. Or you can take this a little further. We did this the other day in a video that we had posted, was reaching over the top at the same side. Now it's going to translate along your lats, your hip flexor again. Still breathing through the stretch. And rest. In a moment, we'll do one more on this side, and we'll go ahead and switch sides. All right, go ahead and lean into it again. Just a reminder, engaging the right glute in this case. If you want to take this one further, not something I necessarily have for range of motion, but if you want to grab your ankle, it would look like this right here. Grab your ankle, and pull up like so. That'll stretch across the quad even more. Then lean into it from there. Might be a little uncomfortable on the, if you don't have a soft enough surface on the knee, so no need to grab the ankle on this one, but just adding that knee flexion is going to stretch out the quad a little bit more, which the quad is a hip flexor, fun fact, one of them, one of the quad muscles. Go ahead and shake that out if needed. Then we're actually going to switch sides. So left knee down, right leg up. Then firing the left glute, push hips in, lean into it. Keeping chest up so that our hips stay square. Feel a stretch in that little hip flexor zone. It's kind of like right in here. Once you're comfortable with it, you can go with reaching overhead. You can grab at the ankle. We're going to do 3 of these though. So if you want to ease into it, great. Carrie, I know this probably feels weird, right? Where usually if we're online together or in session, we're like crushing it and we're hustling from exercise to exercise. Now it's like slow breathing, prolonged stretching. And rest. And if in the future, if it's getting uncomfortable on the knee, you can still pull this off standing too, like so. So lean into it, reach over the top. Just think about keeping the knee locked, so to speak, legs straight, and push the hip in, still engaging the left glute, the side that you want to stretch. Fire that glute off. Should feel hip push forward a little bit more, relax and stretch the flexor. All right, go ahead and reset for a moment. One coming up here. And go ahead and lean forward. Okay, go ahead and shake it out as needed. And then we're gonna make our way to our back. So now, next few exercises will be lying on our back. The first one here, not gonna start the clock just yet, just so you can watch me. Figure 4 position, if you're able to. So ankle across the knee. Nothing new here, just pure form of stretch. So we're reaching through, interlace around the knee, and then we're gonna pull our knee to our chest. You can modify this by pushing your knee out instead, just to scale it back a little bit, not as aggressive. But if you're able to, go ahead and reach in through. You can go behind the thigh, you can go behind your ankle, behind the knee, whatever you can reach there, and go ahead and pull towards your chest. So this is stretching, kind of like a buzzword muscle that we hear often is the piriformis, which is an internal rotator. And we're moving the right hip into external rotation here. Ease into the stretch. Feel what's called muscle creeping, where the longer you go for, the more your body's gonna kind of adapt and allow for a little bit deeper of a stretch, the more you can breathe into it. Go ahead and rest for a moment. Or just ease up on it, so to speak. And go ahead. Draw the knee towards the chest. Think inhale slowly, exhale slowly. Just find a little bit more stretch on each one. And this is 2 of 3. After we get 3 on this side, we'll go ahead and switch to the other side. And ease up on it. And go ahead. Draw the knee to the chest. Then before we move to the other side, look in here. Keep your figure 4 position, and we're just going to push towards the left side, rotating, and just allow the weight of your legs to kind of hang over. I'm keeping my shoulders on the floor. So you're going to rotate your hips to the left side. So your right foot should be almost like it's about to step onto the floor, or if you can reach it, it's on the floor. Important to just relax the lower half here, lower body. Just a slight stretch being felt across the right hip. Want to just try to keep mid to upper back on the floor and just let the weight of your legs take it over. And go ahead and reset, kick it out a couple times as needed. And then we're gonna, once you're ready, put your left foot, left ankle across your right leg. So make a figure 4 on the other side. Interlace around the knee or the ankle or the back of the thigh. And go ahead and pull in towards your chest. This is one in terms of feedback where here often one side feels tighter than the other. It's always interesting when you do one side and then the other for anything, whether it's an exercise or a stretch, you kind of learn a little bit about yourself and your body, and one side feels tighter or stronger. Always fun to keep note of. Thinking about keeping the left hip, left glute just relaxed here. And rest. Go ahead, pull your knee towards your chest again. And rest. We got one more coming up here, and then once we're done with that one, we'll go ahead and rotate to the right like we did on the other side. And go ahead, draw the knee towards the chest. Again, these are roughly 30 seconds if you need to let up, or 15 is like your max, your peak, perfectly fine. And go ahead and just let your hips and legs drop to the right side, keeping your left shoulder down on the mat. That's going to be important because if your left shoulder goes with, essentially we'd just be rolling to the right side or our right side, not going to get as much of a stretch out of it. You can take your left hand, you can reach up and back very high, still keeping your knuckles and hand on the floor. Reach up and back at an angle. Let your legs drop. Every time you exhale, reach further and further, little by little with your left hand up and back on an angle. Feel the stretch kind of work its way up your torso, through your lats, starting at your hip, all the way to your shoulder. And excellent. Standing on our back like so. Now we're going to put our feet up towards the ceiling. And I'm going hands on the outside, elbows on the inside of my knees, like so. So hands are on the outside, elbows are on the inside. And you're going to push your hips laterally, your feet laterally. You can keep your legs straight for more of a stretch, or you can bend them just to ease up. If you're familiar with yoga, I believe this is happy baby pose. But just feel your hands being heavy, being drawn back towards the floor, or down towards the floor. This is going to be a hamstring, adductor, groin, inner thigh. That's where you should be feeling this. Notice my knees are quite bent because I don't have flexibility. If you can reach out and keep your legs straighter or less bend in the knee, feel a little bit more hamstring stretch. Just kind of hang out here. We'll do 30 seconds here. You can grab up higher on the balls of your feet, wrap around your toes or your big toe, pull down like so, just to get a little more flexion or dorsiflexion. You feel it across your calves, in your hamstrings, inner thigh. And rest there. Got two more here, 30 seconds on this one. And as you're going along with the stretch, you can feel it progressively getting a little deeper and deeper. And go ahead. If you need to grab at your ankles or your shins just to keep your legs straighter, perfectly fine too, just in terms of being able to reach. Go ahead and rest for a moment there. Kind of march it out, kick it out, shake it out. And then we'll do one more there. And go ahead. So hands are on the outside, knees are on the inside. You could use your, elbows are on the inside. You could use your elbows to push your knees outward too for a little bit of hip rotation. Feel it a little more along like the hip flexor or on the inside of your hip a little bit more. Again, let your hands be heavy, drawing the bottoms of your feet closer towards the floor. And rest. Excellent. Last couple here. Go ahead and come on up to your feet. I'm just going to adjust the camera so you guys can see me a little bit better. Last couple, personal favorite of mine, especially for low back. If your low back's tight today or hamstrings, is going to go cross arms across the chest. Just draping our upper body like a toe touch stretch. If you're familiar with yoga, this is more ragdoll pose or ragdoll position. Just big inhale before you go into this, and then exhale as you lower. I have my knees a little slightly bent, perfectly fine there. Whatever feels like it's a good stretch. And then my head's up so you guys can hear me because I'm trying to project my voice, but let your head drape down like so. So chin is tucked. Let your upper body be heavy. Your weight should be mid-foot back to your heels. And just let the weight of your arms and your head and your chest just drape down towards the top of your feet. Continue to breathe through this stretch. As long as your weight's back towards your midfoot to your heels, low back shouldn't have to guard here, so let your chest just drop down. Kind of ease into the stretch as you're going along here. And reset. You use your hands to walk up your legs as needed there. Nice and tall. March it out for a moment here. You go arms out to your side when you inhale like we did in the beginning. So inhale. And exhale, crossing arms over. Heavy with your chest. Almost like you're trying to draw your shoulders to your knees. Adjust the bend in your knees accordingly. Now, once we've made sure that our arms are heavy, elbows are drawn towards the floor, you can reach down. You could either interlace your fingers around your big toe or around the backs of your Achilles or your ankle. Just hang out here. Again, head should be down, chin tucked. Go ahead and walk your hands up. Reset. Deep breath, inhale. And exhale. Arms across the chest. Let your elbows slide along the front of your thighs, down to your knees. Adjust the bend in your knees accordingly. Feel your calves, your hamstrings right behind your knees all the way up to your butt. Low back just kind of lighting up here as it's relaxing and stretching. Once you're there, you can reach down toward your ankles, your toes, your heels. And walk your hands up. Careful on the way up here. Nice and tall. Let's give a reach up towards the ceiling here. And make our way to a kneeling position. And you can face me. This is just going to be our last one here, guys. It is kneeling position like so. And then go ahead and flex your toes. Extend your toes like so. So that they're tucked underneath there. Okay. Just by hanging out here, you can walk your knees forward. This is going to be more of the bottom or the forefoot or the plantar aspect of your foot, kind of stretching here. As we're doing this, back to a QL stretch. So that low back is going to be reaching up and over. Now go ahead and stay right where you're at. I just wanted to show you where our toes are at, but as I'm facing you, watch how my torso stays still. So if we reach over and we just lean to the side, we might miss out on that stretch, which is happening low back on my right side. So you want to stay tall, reach over, and then let the weight of your arm take it the rest of the way there. So that's where that differs from just completely leaning to the side. You want to go ahead and touch down to the floor, perfectly fine. It just shouldn't be too far away from your base. Continue to breathe through this thing. Big inhale. controlled exhale through like a pursed lip, blowing out the candles. And windmill the arm back. We're going to switch sides. Chin up and over. And I'm just keeping my hand right next to my hip, right next to my leg. That way I don't jolt out to the side that way. I want to stay over the top of your hips. Back to the other side here. Shake it out as needed. Go ahead and reach over the top with the right. If you need to adjust your toes now, if that's getting a little aggressive across the bottom of your foot there, you could always be in like a high kneeling position here or standing. Go ahead and windmill the arm down, shake it out, go to the other side. This is the last one right here, just 2 on each, 30 seconds apiece. Feel it stretching. If you're reaching with your left, you're going to be stretching out that whole network along the left side. So starting with up near your shoulder, through your lat, all the way down your hip. And then there's a very square-like muscle in your low back, typically what can lead to low back pain or stiffness, tightness. It's called the QL. And bring it back down, shake it out there. That's all I have for you guys this morning. So that was low back, hamstring related. Thank you very much. I know not as intense as our cardio.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Eric. Have a great day.
Oh, is that Holly? I didn't see you there, Hal.
Yeah, I joined it a little
Thanks,
late.
Dubs. Maddie, thank you.
Maddie,
Thanks,
take
Holly.
care.
All right. Did you work out this morning too, Hal?
I did not. How was it?
I wasn't there either. I missed it too.
Yeah, kind of fun. The Jack Sam team, huh?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Very
cool.
good. Yep. And then be on tomorrow,
I know, I was gonna say.
6 a.m. and 10. Yes.
I have to work tomorrow.
Oh, you work tomorrow?
Yeah, and I have to go like into the office, so.
Yeah. Dubs, thank you, sir.
Yeah, man, I tell you, that stretch with the one across the knee was killer. Oh my God, because I'm 6'5", so I mean,
Right.
Oh,
that
wow.
was, my hip was just on fire.
That
So
figure
that
four
was a
one.
good
Yeah.
one.
So that's usually one where people feel right side versus left too, which is interesting.
Awesome, appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Have a good one.
See ya. Yeah,
Thanks.
my moral for screaming.
Good. Excellent. Yeah. So now drink up some water, rest up. Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks.
Take care.